Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators.
Hello everybody, a warm welcome back to our Whiskey for the Ages podcast subscribers. I'm your host, Brian Dawson. Tonight, Hannah's here.
Big thank you to those of you who are tuning in for the first time.
And Alora's here too.
Yes, I am home for Christmas break. It has been a lovely, lovely time. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show, and if this is your first time listening to our podcast, please consider subscribing.
Yeah, tonight we're popping the cork on our 4th series, our 31st episode.
We've come so far.
We have, and like we always do in our series inauguration, we've got a whiskey to review.
Yes, that's right. That's really cool.
Let's get on with the show then. We're doing our feature tonight, our whiskey review, and as Hannah said, we're going to review a whiskey, and like we do every
season premiere, we're trying to spotlight something that's pretty approachable and can be found on most store shelves and an affordable price point too. That's important.
Right? And this time around we chose
the Benchmark Bonded Bourbon.
Yes.
I don't know if I've had this one.
None of us have.
Yeah, this has been on the list for us to review for a really long time. Because of its approachability on the shelf, it's always there, and because of the price point, we've always wanted to give it a go. We thought for a season opener, it's a good one to try.
So if you guys are out there looking for this one on the shelf, don't look at your waist level. Don't look on the high shelf. You got to bend over on this one.
Yeah.
It's typically found on the bottom shelf, along with several other benchmarks. There's a benchmark number 8, and there's a full proof, and there's a top shelf. There's just a bunch of them there.
There's even Evan Williams.
It sits around, in our store, it sits around the Evan Williams. It sits around the Ezra Brooks 99 proof. Those ones are the approachable ones down there.
So just because it's on the bottom shelf does not mean that you should skip over it.
Nope. We're going to find out, though, if this one really is good.
And if we think you should skip over it, we will change our minds.
That is true.
Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background on it. It's vital stats here. Its classification, it is a bottled in bond bourbon. So what that basically means is it's been put in a U.S. bonded warehouse, and it sits there for a minimum of 4 years. That means that you're not going to be able to go in and do any alterations at all to it. The company, it's from Sazerac. Region is Frankfort, Kentucky. Distillery is Buffalo Trace. And the distilled spirits plant number, the DSP number, is DSP KY113. Buffalo Trace is famous for not disclosing their mash bills. It is believed that this one is a mash bill number 1, which is their low rye mash bill. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Because it's unpublished, there's lots of internet sources out there. They believe it to be somewhere around 75% corn, under or right at 10% rye, and about 15% malt barley. Now those numbers are not accurate, but that's pretty much what internet consensus is. Barrel char, it's gone through a pretty heavy char, a number 4, barrel entry proof. It gets put into those barrels at 125 proof. Because it's bottled in bond, it meets the bottled in bond standards of 4 years. 4 years old. Its ABV, of course, is 50% because bottled in bond is always 50%, 100 proof. NABCA control state codes. Now, I put those on all my reviews. Basically, what that means is if you are in a control state, all control states use the same number to identify it, and that number is 21460. Bottle size here, 750 milliliters. I paid here just about 3 weeks ago $19.95 for this one.
That's really, really, really cheap.
Anybody should be able to go out and find this one. The release, it's an ongoing release. It's very easily found. The bottle, it's kind of a square bottle or a rectangular cube, I guess, if you were to label it. It has a label that says bonded, a gray label to signify it's bottled in bond. Now, here's something I find kind of interesting. Other Buffalo Trace mash bill number ones, or their low rye whiskeys, their standard Buffalo Trace is a low rye whiskey. The Colonel E.H. Taylor's are low rye whiskeys. Eagle Rare is a low rye whiskey. George T. Stagg and the Stagg, formerly Stagg Jr. products, also low rye, and their Old Carter product is low rye. Now, for our enjoyment in the review, what we've done is we've poured our review amount into the Glencairns. We like our Glencairns around here. Approximately 3.5, 4 ounces go into the glass, and then we sniff it, and we taste it, and we smell it, and we just pretty much look it over from that point. But enough of my talking. Girls, what are you smelling? What are you sensing here?
Well, I can tell you first off that despite knowing what other Buffalo Trace mash bill ones constitute, this does not smell anything like any of them.
No, it does not.
At all. The first inhale I had of this, it wasn't off-putting, but it threw me off a lot. Laura and I actually made eye contact, and she had the same face that I did, I think.
Yeah.
When we haven't taken a sip yet. We've just inhaled, done some nosing. As far as what I've gotten, this is real sugary. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sugar notes going on here. Biggest things I wrote were caramel and butterscotch. In a way, it seems a little bit artificial and simple. Other things that are here, though, I got some maple, I got some brown sugar, I got some candied pecans. Other than that, it's not that much. Now, keep in mind, I'm your value guru over here. For $20, I'm not expecting a complex nose. If I get a complex nose, that's great. But this one, yeah, I mentioned it's a simple nose. That matches what I would expect for a $20 bottle, though. Now, whether or not I like the nose, I'm shocked that it's a Buffalo Trace mash bill one, because it doesn't smell like them, and I was expecting it to smell a little bit like them, and I am a bit bummed that it doesn't. I'll just say that. It's not my favorite nose that I've ever smelled. It smells like $20. I'll say that. Okay. Laura, what about you?
Hannah, you are not going to believe this. We are practically 100% in agreement.
Whoa. I wonder if it's because it's not as complex.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the first thing that I got was sugar. Like, Hannah, like what you said, we made eye contact. I think we had a similar expression. I'm typically one of the people who really like sugary, caramely notes. That comes with limitations, though. And I think as I've grown older and as I've, had more bourbon experience, my preferences have changed. I mean, you hear the whole statistic of every 7 years our taste buds change. Well, yeah, I would say that for me. Hannah, I would agree that there is candied pecans. I actually wrote that down. I was very shocked that you said that.
Wow.
I said a lot of sugar. I said marshmallow, vanilla bean,
Okay.
not extract.
Okay.
They're two different things. And then one thing I put down as soon as I pegged it, I was thinking that it smelled like cream cheese frosting that you would put
You know what?
on
It
red velvet.
does.
Yep. And I was like, that's it.
That is what it smells like.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
You say cream cheese frosting, but almost like,
It's the kind that you would put on red velvet cake.
yeah, but dare I say almost a fake.
Well, it's
The
the
f-
store
Well,
bought.
that's why I say
Yeah.
almost like artificial in general.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
smell.
it's the store
So,
bought. Like,
you know-
I bet that if I was going to make cream cheese frosting, it probably wouldn't taste like
It wouldn't smell like this. Like
No.
this is
straight up store bought cream cheese frosting.
yeah.
I mean, it could be good in coffee, but I don't know. I think I would have to agree with Hannah. It doesn't have that Buffalo Trace, funk, if you will. We've used that
Yeah.
word funk. I didn't smell a lot of fruit. I didn't smell a
No,
lot of
no,
cherries.
there's no fruit here at all.
And I like a well-rounded bourbon. And Hannah, you made a good point. This is only a $20 bourbon, so I mean, to each their own. It's probably not something that I would go for. Now, this is just on the smell. We don't know what the taste is.
Exactly.
So I get a lot of the same things you guys are talking about. I didn't start smelling until after I finished the stats. But for me, my first inhale, this was medicinal. And not necessarily in a good way. Like there's good medicine and bad medicine, I guess.
Like the kind of medicine that you would hope is going to pass off on a kid.
Yeah. But this is just, it's got a weird spice to it.
I can't get any
And
spice.
I'm not sure what that spice is. Maybe it's that vanilla you're talking about,
Yeah.
but for me it's not.
If
This
I
is
were-
different.
If I
Yeah.
were to say if there was a spice, because I was seriously looking, Hannah, both you and I said candied pecans. Candied pecans have cinnamon sugar on it.
Yeah, they do.
And I would sooner lean closer to that for a spice.
Yeah.
Like, it's not straight up cinnamon. I would say cinnamon sugar.
That sounds right.
So,
That
But is
sounds
it stale?
Right.
I mean, it'd be the kind that you put on your snickerdoodles. Like, or your
Yeah.
candy pecans.
yeah.
You just mix up your sugar and your cinnamon, and that's the
I just
closest
wish I
thing
could put
came
my
up with
finger
spice.
on what it is I'm smelling here. It's just something. And
Part of it is a little, like, the slightest bit yeasty as well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not talking bread yet, okay? We haven't baked the bread. I'm just talking some yeast when you've got it going, ready to put in.
So
There's an element of...
You've opened the package,
You've opened the package
Oh.
of yeast.
Okay.
but you haven't put it in. You
You're not
haven't
ma-
introduced it to the water and the sugar yet.
Maybe you have.
I would
But I would say you haven't introduced it to your dough or whatever you're working with.
Yeah, it depends on, because people bake bread differently. I personally like to mix my sugar element with the water and then put the yeast in. Some people like to put the yeast straight into their dry ingredients. Some people like to do that. Some people like to just put it in water. I haven't compared any of the methods to see if that makes any difference. But Hannah, you might be onto something with the smell of it, because it doesn't smell like bread.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I personally mix my yeast with honey. That's just a preference. I think it makes the dough sweeter in the long run. So maybe when the yeast is eating the honey. I don't know. Very interesting though. Have you guys taken a gander at tasting it yet?
Yep, I took my first sip. super easy to hold in my mouth. I mean, it's not prickly. It doesn't bite. It doesn't do anything, but it sure is sweet.
I feel like it kind of tries to do a little something, not in an alcohol burn kind of fashion. I think it's more like there's an effervescence here, not dissimilar to like Pop Rocks candy. Like there's a slight playful tickle happening, but it's not so far that it feels like it's alcohol.
It's interesting. I've only done the one sip, and the girls know I typically put it in my mouth and I hold it, and I continue to hold it. Sometimes, like Hannah says, there's that effervescence, that pop on your tongue. I don't get that here. But as soon as I swallow, I'm actually surprised that I can feel it. And I feel it way down on the throat, not on the back of the palate.
That's what I'm saying.
It's different.
I feel it more in my chest. Honestly, I mean, I've taken multiple sips like straight in a row. I tend to do that. I would say it drinks easy. I mean, I don't have a problem. What was the proof again?
100.
100.
100.
It's bonded.
Right, that's right. Well, I mean, I would say that it's fine. Yeah, it's easy to sip, and I can take multiple sips in a row and not have a problem with it. Likewise, when I can put my, nose in the glass, it doesn't burn me. I would say, for me, the taste is kind of marshmallow-like, honestly, and almost trying to be nutty. I'm getting a little bit of a pecan macadamia nut element to this.
I was going to say macadamia nuts.
Like the ones that you find in your white chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do get other things here as well than what I got from the nose. I still get the caramel. Caramel's very strong. The butterscotch is backed off a lot for me, though. I get the slightest bit of apple.
Wow.
Really?
Slightest bit. That's the only fruit that I'm really picking up right now. Still a lot of sugary elements. I've got noted down here graham cracker crust.
Okay, I can see that.
I've got...
Maybe that's your yeasty element from before.
That could be. I've also got a vanilla custard because there's like a twang in there. And I think that might be what you're calling a marshmallow element, Alora.
Yeah, custard,
Yeah,
that smoothness.
I think that's probably this. We're both noting it, but calling it different things. I understand the macadamia. There's still something that comes in on the back end, and I don't have a note for it. I don't have a noun for what that is, aside from the adjective a little bit sickly.
Yeah, I would say
it sneaks in there at the end and just sort of mars the palate a little bit for me.
You're tasting what I was smelling, and I'm tasting what I was smelling as well. I cannot put that flavor on anything. I've had that flavor before, but I don't like it.
I don't know if I do either.
I'm not sure what it is.
I'm going to throw something at you guys, and I don't know, and I'm going to say it's not this, but when people bake red velvet cake, a lot of people don't realize that it often has a secret ingredient. Vinegar. I'm not saying that this is, but it's leaning towards that kind of twangy element. And I don't know what it really is. To me,
I can see where you're going there.
It's like a vinegar to a red velvet cake. I don't really know. Because red velvet cake is not like chocolate cake in that it has a bit of an extra hit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that kind of a punch.
Yeah, there's no vinegar flavor.
No.
Don't misunderstand this. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm baffled by the sweetness here.
Yeah.
It's almost masking everything else.
Yeah.
And it's every sweet on our wheel. I mean, I've got simple sugar. I've got caramel. I've got, dare I say, a weird honey. You mentioned maple syrup earlier. I mean, it's just all across the board. You're saying vanilla custard. Well, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think the 21-year-old me would be all over this, honestly, because I liked a lot of sweet things. Now I'm like, I like more rounded stuff. Give me the nuts. Give me the fruits.
Well, that kind of brings us into talking about the general balance of this.
It's
and
really leaning heavily on the sweets.
It's really leaning heavily. And I
And the
don't
baked
mind,
goods.
I won't ever mind, well, I should say rather, when I have a whiskey, I do anticipate there being a dominant flavor profile. Whether that's fruit or spice or sweet or oak, whatever the case is, I expect that someone is going to have to stand out from the others. But even with that in mind, I still expect the others to show up. I want to be able to get bits of fruit in something that's spicy. I want to be able to get something that's sweet in an oak forward whiskey. This one, it is so hard to dig around in the background to try to find something that pairs with that sweet to even out that teeter-totter a little bit.
It's got a little bit of oak, but it's almost like it's oak that's been sitting around the shop for a while, and there's dirt on it or dust on it. It's not new oak by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a lot of char to it, although I do feel a little bit of toast on it, on the wood. But it's almost the kind of toast that you might think of. They ran this plank through the sawmill, and the blade burned it a little bit. You know, it's not char, but it's burnt.
Yeah.
How can you describe that?
Interesting.
The-
Yeah.
A little bit like, you know, when you turn your heater on for the first time in the season, and there's all of that built up dust
Yep.
that's there, and the dust has to have a little bit of time to burn off, and you get that sort of
Yep.
crispy smell that's not quite pleasant.
You've got that.
It's that.
You got that little space heater that's been under your desk all summer long, and,
Yeah.
you crank it on, and the elements are all dusty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of what that is.
So it's dirty.
Yeah.
This
It's dirty oak.
This has got
it's
dirt.
dirty char.
Yeah.
That's
It's dirty, dusty char.
That is very interesting. It's, you know, we talk about balance a lot. And perhaps we have described what our definitions of balance are in previous episodes. For me, balance means I can get multiple flavors from our flavor wheel. I don't just get sweet. I don't just get fruit. Like, Hannah, you said that there was a lot of, like, whiskeys that have like a dominant flavor profile. When I refer to balance, I'm not looking for dominant. I'm looking for how well-rounded it is around the flavor wheel. Do I have to look far? Do I have to look really, really, really into what exactly I'm tasting to get other flavor profiles? Or do I not have to look at all? Whenever I say that something has good balance, it usually means I don't have to look far to find those. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt where I'm like, ooh, there's a little bit of fruit here. Oh, there's a little bit of nuts here. So for this, I'm very, very much struggling to find really anything besides sweet notes. And I'm a little disheartened by it. I mean, I'm trying to find that apple element, honestly, I'm getting closer to finding like a citrus than an apple. But like a really, really, really sweet, barely any sort of like acid kind of citrus. Probably closer to like a grapefruit or something than anything.
Grapefruits to me are sour, but it's been a while since I've had a grapefruit.
Yeah. But, so Laura, you mentioned it, disheartened. As far as personal opinion goes on this palette, I think I'd go further and flat out say disappointed. This doesn't taste like Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
While I wasn't expecting it to taste like a $60, $40, even $30 product, I was expecting to get the Buffalo Trace funk and know this is where it came from, this is its history, this is its story. And I didn't get that. And that is really disappointing to me. And even going beyond that, like if you hadn't told me that this was a Buffalo Trace product at all, if I'd had this, I'm going to be entirely honest, I'm getting flashbacks of Screwball.
Yeah, I was just about to say Screwball.
Which we did have once upon a time. We never posted a review for it because it was so far outside of our wheelhouse and we could not find a redeeming quality that made it something that we wanted to have on our blog. We decided at that point we're going to stay away from liqueurs and focus exclusively on the legitimate whiskeys. This reminds me of that, and I'm upset.
Yeah, honestly, you know, it kind of goes back to wine. Not all wines are good for tasting so much as cooking. And this one, I mean, I make butter sugar cookies on occasion. I'd be happy to use this in that. Or even
That's a good idea.
Even happy to use it in my coffee. Yeah. Yes, I do drink coffee with liquor sometimes. But, you know, as far as enjoying, I'd sooner use it as I would sooner use it as a mixer.
Yeah. What about you, Dad? What would be
your
feeling about it?
Yeah, most of the comments you guys are saying, I get. Just disappointing. I'm not going to go quite that far, but we talked about balance, and you were talking about a rounded feeling, Alora. The readers of our website have probably seen my reviews, and I put a little graph on it. When I talk in terms of balance, does the fruit component match the oak component? Does the spice component match the sugar component? To me, this is skewed heavily towards sugar and oak. And I don't get a presence of any type of fruit. Be it dark fruit, be it stone fruit, be it berries, be it raisins. I just don't. As far as the spice element, like the girl said, maybe a little bit of cinnamon there.
I don't get that on the taste
I
anymore.
don't get it on the taste at all either. The balance is just skewed too heavily towards sugar. I guess if I'm in a mood for something sugary, and I can't think of when that would be, this would be okay. But a little bit back on the body, and to me it's almost watery. It's got a softness to it. It's got, like I mentioned earlier, it's easy to hold in my mouth. I wouldn't necessarily say it's creamy or oily, yet it's just soft and easy on the mouth, easy on the palate. I don't know what else to say about this. It's a little bit frustrating when yes, it's a $20 bottle.
Yeah.
What am I expecting out of a $20 bottle?
Right.
And
I mean,
Yeah.
not all $20 bottles are going to be, stellar.
right.
I mean, there's plenty of cheap stuff that is really good. Larceny, at least my Larceny, leans a bit on the cheap side as far as whiskeys
That's
go.
about $30.
Yeah, it's not too
25,
bad.
$30.
Evan Williams, I think,
Yeah.
is also another one.
And we've got a bottle of that staring us in the face at the moment. They're on opposing sides of our screen.
Yeah.
Just staring at us and daring us. We are going to pour some Evan Williams here in a little bit once we get rid of the Benchmark that we're drinking right now, just to do a direct comparison, because they are essentially your head-to-head battle as far as price point goes, as far as proof goes. And I already have a strong idea of which one I'm going to like more. But we do want to be able to offer that direct contrast and maybe give you guys a better sense of which ones you may like when you go into the store, and have a better idea of what to expect from bottles like these.
Well, let's get back to this Benchmark and talk about the finish.
Yeah.
The finish.
A cherry tried. I did get a
Was it
little
like
bit
a
of cherry.
maraschino?
Yeah.
I actually got
you know,
a little tiny bit of that.
That's why I say tried. Like on the finish, a little cherry kind of came in and said hello, and then goodbye.
Yeah. I would agree. I did think of maraschino cherries because they are really, really, really sweet. As far as feeling goes, like I said earlier, I feel it more in my chest, but that's because this thing is so easy for me to drink that it just, I keep sipping and sipping and sipping and sipping it to where I essentially get that alcoholic burn. It's not really a burn so much as a warmth in my chest. I don't really feel it in my mouth. The finish is not too long for me. I don't feel any other lingering tastes or feelings in my mouth. I more feel it in my chest than anything else. And then it just kind of sits in there. I would agree, Dad, that it's not oily, it's not creamy, it's really watery feeling to me. It's just easy to drink, and it doesn't have a long finish. So,
No, the finish is definitely not long, and the moment you said the cherry saying hi, I got the taste.
Yeah.
I got the smell that I was doing. And what it is, if you've ever had a maraschino cherry with a stick or the stem on it, and you chewed the stem, that's what it tastes like.
Yeah.
The cherry stem.
Very obscure, but yes. I get that.
I mean, you've chewed on it enough to where you've busted it all apart. Some crazy people out there trying to tie a knot in a cherry stem with your tongue. That's the kind of sensation I'm getting.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're all saying it's watery, but it's got that sensation in the finish of a cherry syrup that just kind of hangs there.
Yeah.
That's medicinal cherry syrup.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say medicinal.
Oh, I still get that.
I do think that between the nose, the palate, and the finish now, the finish is my favorite part of this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that with a hint of malice or sass or anything like that. I do like the finish of this. For $20, this is a very nice finish. I'm finally getting a little bit of fruit coming in with the cherry. Y'all know me. I love fruits in my whiskeys, especially when they're cherries. As I've gone through a little bit more, I agree there's also the cherry syrup, which I do find to be distinct from the cherry itself. And even a little tiny bit of peach syrup, which I also enjoy. I wish that the finish was what I'd get in the actual palate, but it all comes later, and getting to that point, is that lead up to that finish worth $20? For me, not so much.
It's interesting. It's interesting. As we sit here, we first nosed it, then we tasted it, and we felt it in our mouth, and we're talking about the finish. We've had this now, 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've played with it enough to where, as we're getting these finishes, and like you said, Hannah, that you want the flavors that we're getting in the finish, they do start to come back as we take more sips.
Yeah.
So,
I think it helps that we're mentioning it.
yeah. And that's true.
We're kind of leading each other on a little bit.
Which is really hard to not do when we're talking about something that we're all drinking at the same time.
Whenever we review something, like, not in a podcast, but just reviewing it, we don't talk to each other. We do, but it's not related to what we're drinking. And if we do, it's very vague. We'll say, this is really sweet. We don't know what kind of sweet each other is talking about, whether it's a sugary or fruity sweet. Or we can say, it feels really hot. We say very generalized things that, are very, well, what can we agree on? Is it sweet? Is it hot? Is it watery? Is it oily? It's usually very vague. We don't really talk to each other specifically about the flavors because we want to prevent that kind of bias from coming in until we reveal what we're actually tasting at the very end.
And I can say now that all I'm getting is cherry stems. I've got
and
that.
For me, the peach syrup is coming in more and more. It almost tastes like right after you finish eating a fruit cup and you got all that juice that's still in the bottom of the fruit cup. That's a little bit what I'm getting on the finish. Okay, not so much on the palate.
I would also add on to that, you guys ever had a snow cone?
Yeah.
With syrup? Yeah. It's like that kind of syrup that you would get, honestly.
At the end of the cone.
Yeah.
Your lips are all blue.
Well, not even
something like that.
Yeah, well, not even like
red
that,
or
but just
whatever.
the syrup that you get out of a snow cone. You got the, I won't say a brand name, but you get that kind of a syrup.
I will say that I don't dislike it, but I'm certainly not going to replace it.
Yeah. I can say that it's growing on me the more that I drink it because the finish is, starting to be a stronger component as I go through. But like you, it's not something that I would look to repurchase.
Yeah.
If I did, it would be for baking purposes only, like my
and
sugar
this could
cookies.
be a great baking bourbon.
Perhaps I ought to try it. Maybe Hannah will get her butter cookies. I don't know.
There you go.
Hannah's obsessed with them, and she's
obsessed with all things baking and carbs.
And basically, that means everything I cook and bake.
Yeah,
she's been begging me nonstop about my tomato herb bread.
All right, so Hannah, setting. Where are you drinking this?
This one is really hard. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's really when you're having a product that you don't really enjoy, it's difficult to find a spot in your mind where this would be enjoyable on its own. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the cop out and say in a cookie or in a cake or whatever. I don't have children, but I think that if I did, this one probably wouldn't be too bad after a parent-teacher conference.
To get the bitter taste out of your mouth?
Probably. When you're really frustrated and just grunting and groaning and pissed off and there's a lot happening outside of your control, I think this would be enough of a calibrating factor to whip you back into some sense of normalcy or at least distract you from the shit. And I'm not talking about going so far as to be inebriated with it. I'm generally just saying to have it with a few sips to bring you back down to earth a little bit. So, Laura, what about you though? Your music, what would you be listening to when having Benchmark Bonded?
I mean, the classical, for those of you who have read the reviews I have on this website, you guys know I choose a classical and a pop cultural song choice. The classical came very easily to me, and I think I've used this for a previous bourbon or whiskey. I don't know which one. I can't remember. I'm sorry. For the classical selection, I would choose The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
I love that.
By Tchaikovsky, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, because it is very sugary. You got that, like, da 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 da. Yeah, you get that kind of theme. And it's sugar. It's straight up sugar. But the pop culture one is really hard for me because I'm trying to think of songs that have the word sugar, and the only one that's coming to me is Fall Out Boy's "Sugar We're Going Down."
I mean, you were singing Watermelon Sugar
Yeah, and I don't know what this song is called.
Watermelon Sugar.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, they don't have to be modern. The thing that I look for is like, well, is this a very pop whiskey, or is this like a soulful or folky? Like, usually with these kinds of whiskeys, I mean, they're very pop. I'm not saying Taylor Swift, but think of that kind of era. Kind of sugar sort of thing. I don't really know.
Maybe there's not a song we'd drink with this.
Oh man.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, little Benchmark.
It at least deserves Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Okay.
I will defend it.
Okay.
I will
fair
defend
enough.
it. It deserves at least the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So let's talk about value. Is it worth the price? It's $20.
And considering inflation these days, I mean, what cheaper straight up whiskey are you going to get? Honestly.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about here, because we have Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, white label, everybody. That's what we colloquially refer to it as, Evan Williams White Label. Have it sitting here in front of us. This sits at about $20 also.
Yeah, it's actually gone up just a hair. We're looking at 22 now.
Oh my gosh.
Such a difference. But is it?
So, and keep in mind, Evan Williams, that falls under the Heaven Hill line. So, we've got a whole other distillery with Evan Williams. We've just poured a little bit of that. We're not going to do a full review on Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. We've
certainly talked about it on this show before.
We've talked about it plenty.
We've even talked about it in this episode.
And I believe that we have reviews of it as well on our website. But just to hash it out here and now, how is it against Benchmark?
So, let's see here.
Immediately a whole lot more grainy. And I don't mean that, don't think about that in terms of granules kind of grainy. I'm talking a lot more corn, a lot more rye, a lot more, there's even a wheaty element here.
Which is interesting. There's no wheat in it.
I know, but
Yeah.
the wheat is like suddenly there.
It is so nutty to me. It's like a chocolate Buckeye.
It's
like a chocolate Buckeye. You know, like the peanut butter balls that are in the chocolate. It's basically, I mean, I love those things. I really, really do. Think of your Reese's peanut butter.
It's so
cup.
Interesting. These vary in price by $2-3 tops.
But they're so different.
They're both 4 years old. They're both 100 proof.
Bottled and Bond.
They're both bottled in bond. They're both low rye. You know, Evan Williams rye is 10% rye. There's
So
no
this-
comparison.
No. So there's a heck of a lot more complexity here. Alora's talking about things that are on the sweeter side. I'm talking about things that are on the grainier side. This is also grassy in general. I actually really like grassy whiskeys.
Yes, you do.
And I can't explain it. I always have.
So
if
then
you
why
look at
don't
the...
why don't you like Scotch?
Because Scotch also has peat in it.
Not all Scotches have
and,
peat.
And there's a salty element because it's an island or a peninsula, rather. So there's a lot of dynamics in Scotch. And I'm not the biggest fan of everything there. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get my palate calibrated to it because I don't want to give a review to something that I can't calibrate myself to. That would be unfair to the product. But this is so good.
You know,
This
Really-
Evan Williams
we have Evan Williams at our house all the time.
all the time. And it may not be something that we're pouring as the first pour of the evening, but
It's a last pour for sure.
it's a last pour for sure.
Yeah.
It's the nice period at the end of the day.
You've poured your bourbon, you've drank the glass, and you want a skosh more. You know, whatever a skosh is. Evan Williams comes out,
Yeah.
and it comes out often enough to where I have no problems having a bottle of Evan Williams open at all times around the house.
We have to have one.
I can't remember if I have one at my apartment. I know, I mean, I have Larceny, I have my Old Forester, I even have an Eagle Rare. I don't know if I have an Evan Williams, and you know, it's a great one.
Yeah, and it's 22 bucks or
It's
whatever it is.
$22. Whether I finished it last year or I finished it this year, I don't know. But I mean, it's not one to skip out on, guys. Like, seriously. I mean, Benchmark, I'm sorry, bro. I'm gonna have to skip up on you. But
And you know, another one that we don't have with us on hand, the Old Forester Orange Label.
Oh,
That one isn't bottled in bond, okay?
No, but it's 100 proof.
But that one is 100 proof. That one, amazing value, and that sits about right at this price point as well.
exactly.
Not that far off. It probably sits a little closer to the Evan Williams side of the scale here, but it's right there. All day, every day, I'd rather grab Evan Williams bottled in bond or that Old Forester Orange Label.
And I would tell you that I am actually looking forward to pouring Benchmark at the end of an evening, just to see how it stacks up and how it finishes in
Yeah.
the evening.
Because it is meant to be that all-encapsulating, the day is done.
And you know, to be fair, we are not cocktail people.
Nope.
Maybe Benchmark Bonded is a cocktail product.
Maybe.
you know, I've never made really any cocktails, like official cocktails. I'm basically like ooh, that's a mixer, ooh, that's a mixer, ooh, that's a mixer. And I'll make my own, like, basically Frankenstein monster of a cocktail. But the thing is, you know, with Benchmark, I mean, if I'm having fun, I'm with family and friends, and perhaps I've had 1 or 2 glasses of bourbon, maybe then I would say that Benchmark is, you know, a good one, honestly.
We got to give it its due.
We gotta give it its due. And, you know, whether you want to use it in a cocktail, like, say if you want to use it in an espresso martini, which I'm intrigued of seeing how that would do, or you want to use it in a baking good, yeah, I mean, see what you can do. There are some bourbons that, or whiskeys I should say, there are some whiskeys that perhaps you shouldn't skip out on for the purposes of drinking neat.
Yeah.
But rather finding other uses for.
There
Because
you go.
I could see ways that I could use Benchmark. Seriously, I can.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this is just bonded.
Yeah, we
There-
haven't tried the number 8.
The number 8, the small batch,
Do we know what proof the number 8 is?
I don't know. Probably 80.
Probably 80.
Yeah.
I did actually just pour myself some Old Forester 86. I know that's not the same price. Proof point sits though at around the same price point though. And frankly, I gotta say, even 86 is preferable to me over the Benchmark
Yeah.
as far as drinking neat goes. But I think Alora brings up the major key point here, that just because something may not be perfect for you neat doesn't mean that it can't have other uses.
Absolutely. And clearly, we're a family that does not shy away from the $20 bottle.
No,
And
we've learned through Evan Williams that there are diamonds in the rough down there.
yep, absolutely. And you know, we you know, Christmas Day, I'm drinking a $125 bottle of bourbon. And I loved it. It was hot, it was warming, it was fantastic.
Do we still have that left?
Yes, we have
We've
lots
got
of that
plenty
left.
of that left.
Lots of that
Good,
left.
good, good.
No spoilers, everybody.
no.
Sorry.
And it's just something that, you know, we keep in mind. Yes, we were not expecting a great deal from this product. And guess what? We didn't get a great deal out of this product.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we're not going to love everything.
Yes.
That's how you know everybody. We're being authentic when we tell you what we really think. The one thing we didn't go over with this one though was what we would rate the Benchmark.
Ooh.
Oh.
This is the problem moment.
Yes.
What are we actually rating this one?
I'd have to look at other things that I'm in this range, but I'm thinking right now it's a solid C, maybe 72, 73, 74.
Oof.
I mean, I'm not reaching for this again.
Yeah.
And when I put something in the B's, you know, the 82s, 83s, 84s, I probably could be convinced if it's the only bourbon on the shelf and I need to get one, you know, I could probably go there, but this one is not one I could go there with. For me.
Laura.
I grade things not necessarily similar to Hannah, but I do grade things numerically. So, like Dad, I would have to examine what is going on specifically with this. I rate things on the feeling, the balance, vision, finish, taste, and aroma. And if you guys have read my reviews, how many reviews have I done where they're crazy wishy-washy because there's so few of them and they range from basically a C minus to an A plus. I would have to say that this one would probably be in the C range, but I could find use in it.
Yes.
So
I think this one would also be in the C range for me, but I think it'd be a pretty low C.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not giving this a 75. I'm 72, 3, 4.
That sounds about
That
right.
sounds about
Yeah.
right for me too.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, so let's go to this fortnight in whiskey. We're going to talk about some stories that I found interesting in the world of whiskey.
And keep in mind that we're pre-recording this, y'all. So, I mean, this is pretty current, but
By the time you listen to it, it may not be current.
Your fortnight is not our fortnight. Disclaimer.
So, early this past year, keep in mind we are December after Christmas 2024, but early in 2024, the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, or DISCUS, and the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, the ASMWC, spearheaded a grassroots effort, and they generated more than 1,000 letters that got sent to the Alcohol, Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. More alphabet soup, the TTB. They sent it to Administrator Mary Ryan, urging immediate action. They needed a definitive answer.
Well, we've waited a long time.
This has been going on for years.
Yeah, and we've talked about it for...
Well, guess what? They have finally made a decision.
Oh my God.
DISCUS
Finally.
and the ASMWC toast the TTB for their final rule establishing the official American single malt whiskey category. So what's happened is, over the past several years, these folks have been working with the TTB to finalize standards. In September of 2022, DISCUS and ASMWC submitted official joint comments, and they basically supported the establishment of a standard to identify the American single malt whiskey. Now, the girls are not as much of a fan as I am. I'm learning to like it. It's close in flavors to Scotch.
I like American single malt whiskey, but the thing is that I will ultimately reach for a bourbon or a rye over.
And we did an episode about
Yeah,
American single malts.
I'm the same way. I mean, to me, American single malt, it tastes, not to be offensive or derogatory, it tastes old. And the reason I say that is because it's like old sea, old books. Like, it screams kind of that.
That's interesting, because to me, I think it tastes like a hippie made it. Like it tastes like a brewer made it, of an IPA made it. That's what I get from. Anyway, go ahead,
I get
Dad.
a lot of books out of it. That's
so on December 13th, this year, 2024, the TTB announced its ruling. The key provisions of the American Single Malt Whiskey Standard include the fermented batch must be made of 100% malted barley.
This makes sense.
Okay? It should be produced in the United States.
This makes sense.
The distillation proof should be 160 proof or less. Which is exactly the same as bourbon or rye.
That makes sense also.
Okay.
What bourbons are even at 100?
Well, that's when it comes off the still and goes into the.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. The distillate can be stored in used, new, charred, or even uncharred new oak barrels, with a maximum capacity of 700 liters. That's a pretty big capacity.
And a lot of variety, too.
Yes.
Think of your standard 2-liter bottle of soda.
Yeah.
And multiply that times 14.
One of you guys should do the math real quick on a 53-gallon barrel. It's much less than that.
Yeah.
Or multiply that times 25, I guess.
It also can only be stored in the United States. In other words, it can't be put on a ship and floated around the ocean.
I like that. Okay, so I both like and dislike the whole thing about it having to be in oak barrels. I appreciate it for the sake of historical value, American value. We like our things stored in oak barrels. Woohoo. That's fantastic that we're keeping an oak barrel tradition alive. But I think it does limit a little bit, even if they're used. I think it can limit things a little bit, and it would have been really fun to have been able to try something in a different type of barrel.
I have to object to that. How many American single malts have we had? Is the question, because in my in my calculations, we haven't had too many American single malts.
I would say you've probably had about 5 or 6.
But
you've probably had about that same. I've done about 10 different ones, maybe 11 or 12.
But there are so many, so it's kind of like, well, how does it work? Do we know how it works? Do we know if those American single malts have been done in oak barrels?
I mean, now we know that
Yes.
they have to be.
Yes.
They have to be, but who's to say that those maximum of 10 barrels were done in anything but
We're
oak
new at
barrels?
this. We're new at
Yeah.
this. And everything we've done has been done in oak. Just so
Yeah,
you know.
that's
yeah,
true.
everything we've done is done in oak.
Even the
No
cork barrels?
neutral spirits can be used. In other words, you can't add rubbing alcohol.
This makes sense.
Okay? No allowable coloring, flavoring, or blended materials are permitted, with the exception of caramel coloring. But if they put caramel coloring in it, it has to be on the label that they've added caramel coloring.
And
Is-
I will say that this may be something that stands out as a red flag for some people. I get you. I totally understand. You'd be surprised how many products are on the shelf right now that say they are one thing, but they do have coloring in them. There are ryes out there that have caramel coloring in them. I'm not going to name names, not today, but there are ryes out there that have them. We talked about Screwball a little bit earlier. You can bet your bottom dollar that stuff has some coloring in it. Coloring is something that happens, but it's nice that you're going to be forced to disclose that
Yes.
if that's going to happen.
Have the American single malts had coloring than just your standard?
We don't know.
You know, I mean,
Any
'cause
of the
they've
ones
seen-
we've
they've
had,
seen pale.
yes,
to me.
they all are pale. And that's probably because of the grain, and it's also probably because of the barrels they've been using. If you're using a used barrel, well, think of Scotch. Most Scotches are using used barrels.
Yep.
And perhaps I'm a bit sacrilegious when I say this, but American single malt seems like it's trying to emulate the Scotch method.
Yeah,
At least
is.
that's
It
what
is.
I'm
It is.
It is. We can't make Scotch. That's exclusive to Scotland. So we have to figure out a way to do it ourselves.
Exactly. And then the other ruling that they've done is they're going to give a straight American single malt category, just like rye, just like bourbon. It has to be aged a minimum of 2 years to
Good.
be called straight American single malt whiskey.
Okay.
It'll be really interesting to see if and when that moniker gets its own
Yep.
Yeah.
section within a liquor store.
Because you
Well-
find them everywhere.
Yep.
Is the thing. Like, you can find them in the bourbons, because bourbon is an American whiskey
Yep.
at the end of the day. Or you find them in between the bourbon and rye.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've had, whenever I've had to go and ask for where it is, it's honestly kind of like in
Yeah.
a miscellaneous.
Yeah.
There is
Well, it's
no
sad.
category.
Here in Idaho, they put the Japanese in with the bourbon.
Yeah.
And it's closer to a Scotch than it is a bourbon.
Yeah.
But oh well. The final rule was published in the Federal Register back on Wednesday, December 18th, and this ruling becomes effective on January 19th. The president of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, Steve Hawley, said, "It's a landmark ruling which further cements our standing on the global stage in whiskey. We applaud the TTB for hearing our call. It's a momentous day for American single malt whiskey and the beginning of a bright future for the category."
At least it's getting acknowledgement at
And-
this point.
Yeah, and I do think it's ultimately going to be a very bright future. Like I mentioned, American single malts are very reminiscent to me of your hipster brewer of IPAs. These are things that people can make to be as unique as you want them to be, with that much more unique flavor profiles, stories. They're coming from all corners of this country and from all walks of life, really, which is really, really cool. And I mean, I'm
It
always
invites
gonna,
experimentation.
It does, and I'm always going to be a bourbon person at the end of the day. I am, but I love seeing the industry take another step forward and figure out how to still be innovative and compete on the global market with our whiskey, with our spirit, and it's really amazing to see it happen.
And it's happening in our lifetime.
Yeah.
It's happening in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this.
Yep.
This is really cool.
It's really interesting because, you know, I'm a musician, I'm a music major, and whiskey has a lot of comparisons to music history in that, you know, music is so old. I mean, it's existed as long as we've existed, just like alcohol has existed basically as long as we have. All you needed to do was just ferment a few things, and then boom, you have it. But how I compare American single malt, it's kind of like when we were trying to emulate what was, you know, back in the 1700s, like you get your Johann Sebastian Bach or your Mozart, your really, really old composers. In the 1920s, you actually saw a lot of comparisons in terms of forms of music to those periods. We call it neoclassicism. That's basically what that term is. And American single malt is basically trying to emulate Scotch or more traditional methods of how to make it. It's basically kind of like the neoclassicism of whiskey, American whiskey in particular, that music was. It's very interesting to see.
Well, Japan's got their whiskeys. Taiwan's got theirs. India has theirs.
It's a really, really
and now
old,
we have ours.
Yeah.
It's such an old art. And it really is such an old art.
Discus president and CEO Chris Swanger says having a formal definition protects the integrity of American single malt and will drive experimentation, creativity, and innovation.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Isn't that what it's all about?
It is.
Yeah. I mean, just experiment. I mean, how many more methods can you use?
Yep, we get to play. Draw outside the lines a little bit.
Okay, we're going to get a little bit political here, just a little bit.
I'm
gonna
do my best, everybody.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my best.
Discus.
I've got opinions on everything. I'll do my best.
Okay, Discus issues a tariff plea to Trump.
Here we
Okay,
go.
as we all know, tariffs and Trump and tariffs.
It's the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
Okay.
Quote unquote.
Well, during his election campaign, incoming U.S. president promised to protect American industry and force other countries to buy more U.S. products by imposing tariffs of at least 10% on foreign-made goods.
That's all quotes.
Before he took office, he announced that he's going to start putting tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods.
Yep.
I mean, okay.
Hasn't been entirely well received by the Prime Minister of Canada or the President of Mexico, who happens to be a PhD in economics.
All right, so let's kind of skirt some edges here, but we'll talk about it. The Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, DISCUS, says it will argue spirits should be exempt from tariffs. Now, they have a logical reasoning.
Of course.
Okay? Here's the logical reasoning. In the United States, we cannot make Scotch.
Or tequila.
Or Japanese, or Irish, or Indian, or Canadian
whiskeys.
whiskeys.
They have to have their own ties. Like, you can't call bourbon unless it's made in America.
So there are some things that automatically preclude a made in America
We
title.
can't make cognac.
Yep.
We can't make champagne. So therefore, if we can't make it here, because the laws in those countries where they're made, specifically, like bourbon can only be made in the United States, why should they have a tariff imposed upon them?
It's a logical question.
Okay? So they are going towards the president and whatever powers that be, that we're asking for the exemption based on the distinct origin of the products. If Scotch can only be made in Scotland, why should you put a tariff on it? It's not going to make it any easier to buy Scotch in the United States by putting a tariff on it. Reciprocation is the same way. Bourbon can only be made in the United States. American single malt can only be made in the United States.
Canada has a Canadian whiskey with your Crown, your Black Velvet, and then of course you have tequila, which has to be made in Mexico, and even mezcals to a degree.
I am
Yeah.
particularly fond of Canadian whiskey. I think that they have some very pleasant sweet notes in them.
There you go. You like you like your Canadian rye.
I do.
So it's a definite question to them, and those countries have been announced to, as of today, they want to have tariffs placed on both of those countries that exceed even 20%. And if tequila can only be made in Mexico and Canadian whiskey can obviously only be made in Canada, what logical reason is there to impose a tariff on those countries for those imported goods? I think the question is really going to come down to those two liquors, especially.
And I honestly think it's bigger than liquor. Because there
Well,
are going to
yes.
be
Well,
other
yeah.
things
Yes.
that are only made in a certain country.
We get about 60% of our energy from Canada. So much of our cars, including your supposed American-made cars like Ford, GM, etc., they all go through Mexico at some point or another. Those two countries, naturally, because we share borders with each of them, are our biggest trading partners, even more so than China.
Yeah.
So to impose tariffs on them, from whiskeys to common goods, including construction goods, which come large in part from Canada, our concrete, our lumber, it's a major question.
Just take a secondary look.
Just take it, yeah.
All you need to do is look at a tag. Seriously, that's all you need to do. If you look at a tag and you see the words made in ... How many of those do you see that's actually made in the U.S.?
So
Seriously.
I threw this story in here because maybe in my lifetime, and I'm 60-something, but maybe in my lifetime, history is going to show that again, whiskey led the way to create an issue with taxation of tariffs, which basic tariffs are taxation.
Yeah, they are.
And maybe we're around in 30 years, 40 years, and I'm 100 and something. That we can do a history episode on tariffs in America in 2025 and how whiskey broke the back of tariffs.
God, wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would just-
If whiskey was like the linchpin that said,
I mean-
nah, we're not doing that.
How many
And as-
times has my dad referenced the Revolutionary War and whiskey? He's mentioned it twice now in 2 episodes of history.
And whiskey is tied to America.
It is. It's always going
It's
to be.
very tight.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents on tariffs. It's going to be interesting. And this one I did for Hannah. I know that Hannah loves these kind of things. Scientists are trying to make whiskey using rye seeds that were submerged in Lake Huron from a shipwreck nearly 150 years ago.
This is right up my alley.
We like our shipwrecks. We watch that kind of stuff all the time on the YouTubes. In November 12th, 1878, the James R. Bentley was sailing across Lake Huron. When a fierce storm blew in and high waves and strong winds, they overpowered the 3-masted schooner and it sank to the bottom of the lake.
Very common story for a lot of schooners and a lot of ships on the Great Lakes.
Near the northern tip of Lake, northern Michigan, okay, Lake Huron, a nearby ship rescued the crew, all of the crew, but the cargo, 36,000 bushels of rye, was lost. Discovered in 1984 near Sheboygan, Michigan, the James R. Bentley is one of the few privately owned shipwrecks in Michigan. Now I say privately owned. Michigan has a state law that protects all wrecks. Their maritime wrecks, their grave sites, their what have you. But for whatever reason, back in 1984, this one escaped, and some guy bought the wreck.
Which is really pretty surprising.
Okay.
It's not common.
So now, after spending 146 years submerged at 165 feet.
That's not that deep.
No, but Lake Huron's chilly waters, some of that rye may be getting a second life. The 170-foot vessel.
Short
Ship, belongs to the shipwreck enthusiast Paul Ehorn. Ehorn tapped Chad Munger, the founder of Michigan's Mammoth Distilling, to organize an expedition to retrieve rye seeds from the wreckage. A team of Michigan-based scientists, distillers, and divers is trying to resurrect the long-submerged grains. The goal is to one day turn them into whiskey. In mid-September, the team sailed across Lake Huron, dove the shipwreck, and filled several large tubes with the 19th century rye seeds. Diver Dusty Cliffman said, "I could see blonde grain. I thought, this stuff is still good."
It's a long time to be submerged, though, even in a freshwater lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, even he says this stuff is still good. The divers resurfaced. The seeds were put on ice, taken to the laboratory at Michigan State University. Many of the seeds were black, mushy, and smelly, but some of them appeared kind of healthy. Eric Olson of Michigan State University, a botanist there, specializing in wheat breeding and genetics, began experimenting to see if he could get the seeds to germinate. Some were put in cold storage, others were submerged in a hormone solution, and some were also dried out. Unfortunately, despite all of his efforts, none of the seeds sprouted.
It's really not that surprising. The seeds ultimately would have needed DNA, functional DNA, to be able to regrow and germinate. And after that long, dead. Even in a sterile environment like freezing temperature waters, which you would think would be perfect for refrigeration and preserving that kind of material, DNA naturally degrades over time when it doesn't have a living organism to surround itself. So
plants are living.
It was going to be a difficult, an uphill battle to begin with.
Plants are living, so I mean, if you don't have any sort of living components, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, Olson was able to extract some DNA from the seeds, and he's going to use this DNA to determine the rye's variety and origins, and hopes to use gene editing techniques.
So we're Jurassic Parking this thing.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
To introduce some of the DNA into modern rye. It's thought that the modified grain could one day be distilled into whiskey. Olson says it's the first time that somebody's tried to resurrect a rye variety from a shipwreck, and this is a unique and novel endeavor.
And I don't think that it's going to be the only time that this happens.
Absolutely not. This is the second news story we've had.
There are so many shipwrecks in Michigan, Superior. I mean, basically all of those Great Lakes.
Yep.
I mean, Holmes is the acronym that I learned. Like the Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior.
Yep. So Michigan's Mammoth Distilling's founder, Chad Munger, hopes that someday there'll be a resurgence of rye agriculture in Michigan. Historically, Michigan was a major rye-producing state, and he hopes to recreate the rye-growing economy there that it had 120 years ago, and develop a Michigan rye trail, just like they have down in Kentucky for bourbon.
Okay.
So, hey, we got to stay tuned to that. We like those kinds of stories.
Maybe something archaeological will show up in a future episode.
Yep. There you go.
That'd be cool.
So new bottles for your next whiskey scavenger hunt. Angel's Envy 13th Annual Cask Strength Bourbon is 2 times finished in port wine and now tawny wine.
That sounds lovely.
Using the Solero method.
That sounds expensive.
It sounds expensive, but it sounds lovely.
Angel's Envy Distillery on Whiskey Row in Louisville, Kentucky is known for finishing bourbon in their wine barrels. The distillery's 13th annual cask strength release uses the Solero method. Little bit about the Solero method. If you think of a pyramid of barrels, the top barrel is your youngest, the bottom barrels are your oldest. They take a little bit out of the oldest to bottle, and they just move a little bit from the top down.
Yep.
And they just keep recycling it over and over again. Traditionally, Angel's Envy uses traditional ruby port wine finish, but now they're going to use some tawny port wine. Angel's Envy Master Distiller Owen Martin said, this year's cask strength bourbon honors familiar flavors and then adds another layer of complexity. So we're looking at, and Hannah said this is going to be expensive. ABV is at 59.4% or 118 proof. $229.
Holy fork!
That's a bit much for
They're
me.
only
Yeah.
releasing 23,196 bottles. On the nose, caramelized notes of brown sugar and butterscotch, stone fruit, pear, and spice. Palate is floral with crisp apple crumble. How can you have apple crumble and be crisp?
Well, think of apple pies, because oftentimes they'll have crumble on it.
Fair enough. Dark notes of chocolate and cinnamon honey, nutty with a foundation of oak. That actually sounds kind of nice.
I mean,
It
I'm
sounds very
sure
lovely.
it is.
So
I'm sure it is.
if y'all think that, you know, that $200 something was worth it and you want to spend it, please let us know how it is.
There you go. I like
Please
that.
actually let us know, because I'd be intrigued by it.
Yeah.
We'll get it and review it if you tell us that you have gotten it first. Okay? You gotta get it first, and you gotta tell us
Is
that
it
it's
worth
good
it?
enough
Yeah.
for us to give it a go. Okay? That's gonna be the deal.
Okay. Old Forester adds to their 117 series, or 117 series. Old Forester celebrates Repeal Day each December 5th. Master Taster Melissa Riff said, our 117 series is all about experimentation. The 117 series comes from Warehouse I. Old Forester 2024 117 series is 11 years old, 47.5% alcohol, 95 proof. Warehouse I barrels are heat cycled, meaning that their warehouse has heat throughout, so basically the bottom barrels and the top barrels are the same temperature. SRP here is only $65.
Not bad.
Until you find out that they're 375 milliliter bottles.
Ah, the smallie.
So they're the small size. On the nose, stone fruit, spice pear, clove, dark honey, peanut brittle, and toasted oak. On the palate, apricot, orchard fruit, nutmeg, and butterscotch.
Perhaps I would go for something like that. It sounds well balanced.
Yes.
We like Old Forester.
Yes, we do. We're
I
suckers
do
for
like
all.
Old Forester.
These are just a couple of the new releases, and as always, to learn more about these stories and the offerings, go to Whiskey for the Ages, the episode archive page on our website. There you're going to find links to all of these stories, where they came from, giving full credit to the folks that is owed the credit.
Yep.
So that's our episode.
Our season premiere! Oh my gosh!
Already in season 4.
Yeah, season
So
4.
crazy.
Yeah. We're having fun. So
Already.
upcoming.
We've got a lot of stuff this season. We have been sitting, thinking, our noggins have been going like crazy. How do we make this season, our season 4, even better than 1, 2, and 3? We've got a lot of ideas. We're going to continue on with reviews. obviously, we started our season premiere with this one. We're going to do a mid-season review like we did last season. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll end our season with another one this time, but that's a long way off. Let's not talk about that. We're going to do our distillery and whiskey spotlights, just like we've done in the past. Tips. We're going to do our history. We're going to have guests on. And this time, we're going to have a couple new types of episodes coming for you. They're going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've already sort of teased them a little bit earlier on in the episode. Maybe you caught on to it, but I'm not going to speak more on that. You'll see. You will see, okay? So make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you're ready to go. We've got a long way to go, and we've got a lot of stuff coming for you, and we're really, really excited about this season. Dare I say, it's going to be the best season we've done yet.
I think so too.
We're going to have fun for sure.
We're going to have
Always.
fun for sure, and perhaps I'll lead one.
What?
Yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps.
You've seen me.
Perhaps.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Well, so ends another episode.
Another season premiere.
Wow.
absolutely, yeah. Be sure to send your comments and subscribe to the show if you want to buy that bourbon that we spoke of.
Our Benchmark Bonded.
Our benchmark, that one, and then also the one from our news story. Please let us know how you feel about it. Let us know
what ones we should be getting.
Yeah, you tell us.
We'll
You
find
tell
them
us.
if we can find them.
Yep.
You
I
tell
know
us.
it's somewhat easy to find things, sometimes not so much. But we'll learn.
Yeah, you tell us. We might incorporate it into our series finale. Who knows?
There you go.
But yeah. And as we always end our episodes, we end with a cheers to our Glen Cairns and to the bourbon. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.